Okay. Call the meeting to order. I'd like to have Sheriff Morton start the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Thank you. All right, I'd like to point out that all members are present. We have a quorum. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Short notice. I'd like to start this meeting off with reading a statement, kind of why I called the meeting and a little bit of the background, certainly not all of it. The statement, each council member can speak to their, the issue we're talking about today, and then we'll kind of go from there. I apologize, the statement's kind of long, but this problem's been pretty long. So there are two issues in the 2025 salary ordinance that have been brought to our attention. Since these issues revolve around payroll, I felt the need to call this meeting right away and attempt to resolve them. The first issue being the hourly versus salary positions. The second issue, which hopefully is a little easier to solve, the supplemental pay provided to the judge and prosecutor by the county were removed mid-term. Article 7, Section 19 of the Constitution says that judges' compensation shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. So I think these two $5,000 supplementals should be reinstated. Back to the first issue, the hourly versus salary. I feel the council was caught in the middle of a fight between the county executive and the elected officials. The power of the Board of the Commissioners is clear in Indiana codes, and I'm not going to read all the codes. They are the executive and legislative body. They determine the operating hours of the county. The power of the elected officials is also clear in Indiana codes. Title 36, Article 2 is the starting point there. They are in charge of the operation of their office. They assign the work, hire, fire, promote, and discipline their employees. Last September, the county agreed to settle a court case involving operational authority at the county level, among other things. In that agreement, it stated that, quote, the Board of Commissioners may set courthouse hours, but they do not set the office hours of other elected officials or their employees, end quote. It also says, quote, elected officials have authority over the number of hours to be worked and when by their employees, end quote. In my personal opinion, I believe there are contradictions between the state statutes and the settlement agreement. So where does that leave the council? The power of the county council is clear in Indiana codes, and we don't have a whole lot. 36-2-5-3 is the main code for us. And kind of paraphrasing here, obviously we don't determine office hours or have a say over the operations of the individual departments. Our job is to prove to the state that we have the revenue to operate the county on an annual basis through the budget process. The council also has the power to fix the number of officers, deputies, and other employees. It also says we have the power to adopt schedules of compensation, all that being the salary ordinance. One other item to consider is the Fair Labor Standards Act from the Department of Labor. In it, the minimum threshold to be exempt or considered salary in some instances for 2025 is $684 a week. So it's almost $36,000 a year. While our employees currently meet this threshold, I feel this number will go up and we will eventually be forced to go non-exempt or hourly. It's for these reasons that I'm in favor of converting the majority of full-time employees to an hourly rate, provided that the rate is correct. Elected officials and probation officers will remain salary. I would continue to leave SCER personnel the same as they work a different rotating schedule. I also believe we should honor the settlement agreement that stated the elected officials set their office hours. If an employee works 36 hours, he or she will be paid for those 36 hours at the correct rate. However, the council needs to appropriate enough money to cover 40 hours in each office. If the elected official keeps the office at 36, that additional money never leaves the general fund. So like I said, I want each council member to get a couple of minutes to speak on this topic. This is going to be done professionally, one at a time. This isn't going to be a shouting match. I want to state that up front. After that, I feel like we can get into the numbers. Different people, I'm sure, brought different numbers and have different ideas, and we'll go through them. But each person could speak to this. I'll start with the vice president, Kim, and we'll go from there. If you want to, if you don't have anything to say, that's fine.
Want to. I agree with Lance on a lot of the items. I do believe as a county, we do need to go salary and we do need to go hourly. And I believe there is a separation between the two. Pay should be for how many hours that you work if you're not a salaried employee. Now, as far as rates and whatnot, I do agree that whatever pay you were receiving per hour, where the county didn't pay salary in the past, I think that you should not be making less money this year if you're working the exact same job. So that's kind of my concerns in all of it. I want to make sure that if an employee is doing the exact same job that they did last year, I want to make sure that they're at least making the same amount of money per year or more than they made last year. So that's mainly my concern in it, and that we follow the state codes. That's where I'm at.
My comment is I kind of agree with you. You know, if we could come up with a fair figure to where everybody works 36 and goes in 40 hours. I mean, I'm all for it. That's about all the comments I got.
I just know from my experience, when I was first introduced to the salary ordinance, and I was very confused at why we were trying to take a salary position and breaking it to an hourly rate. And I know that people in the courthouse and the taxpayers was probably confused by that as well. I think it needs to be determined if it's a salary position. If it's a salary position, I don't see any reason for it to be broke down into an hourly rate. Majority of places that I've ever seen never break a salary into an hourly rate. But positions need to be distinguished, whether it's going to be an hourly position or salary position. And if it makes sense for the county. My 2 cents.
Okay. Matt?
But you have a salary ordinance that was blessed by the past council. You want to sit here and talk about raising the salaries, but the first thing you need to put into place is how much money do we have as a county collectively? I've heard out of the three of you, you bring up salaries, that's fair. But we had multiple discussions throughout 2024 as to what we really had. And that was the basis of what we based pay on. We also based pay on hourly. I don't disagree that according to the agreement with the lawsuit, Section D, number 36, elected officials are free to develop and maintain their own personnel policies in compliance with the federal and state laws, e.g. the Switzerland County Sheriff, or consent to the Board of Commissioners Personnel Policy Handbook. However, elected officials can withdraw participation in the county's Personnel Policy Handbook at any time. Item 37, the authority of elected officials includes the right to employ, supervise, promote, demote, train, transfer, lay off, retire, discipline, suspend, discharge, and to assign work to their employees. 38. Further, elected officials have the authority over the number of hours to be worked when by their employees, and understand that to qualify for federal or state mandated benefits and certain county benefits like health insurance, subject to the terms, conditions, and limitations of each benefit program. Okay, so nobody is denying that any of the departments can't create their own hourly time. They can. Absolutely. But what Lance, when he mentioned what we are underneath as the fiscal body, it is very clear what Article 36 states on a salary ordinance. And it is IC Code 3625 and 3. But you did not state, it says, provides that the county fiscal body shall fix the compensation of officers, deputies, and employees, fix the number of officers, deputies, employees, describe and classify the positions and services, and adopt schedules of compensation. These officers do not have any rights to whether they're hourly or whether they're salaried. That is our job. It is our job to fix the compensation. You're talking about, you're not fixing the compensation. You're looking at the hourly rate, folks. You're looking at the salary. Can anybody here define the word compensation? It's all benefits, all benefits. All those benefits cost this county and the taxpayers money. So if you're only going to focus on the hourly or the salary wages, you're not taking a full view as per the IC code. And that's why that code is not a part of the litigation. Judge Cleary clearly stood and did not comment on the IC code that pertains to the fiscal body. Now, we're back to talking about this when we don't have an attorney here. We do not have an attorney. And before we make any decisions, I would highly suggest, by what I've seen on social media, that the public wants to have a class action lawsuit if we start changing things. Why do we need to change things? If we change things, let's do it like this. You have submitted, certified to the state, the 2025 salary ordinance. It has been adopted by the state. They accepted it. If we want to change it moving forward, then put this body to work like it should be and change it in 2026 so that you're looking at the entire compensation package. You're looking at the entire hours worth, and we manage this thing for once the right way. I can keep talking about, as far as the judge's issue, Lance, I sent you an email asking you for a description of the job. I've sent it to all the council. You didn't have this down, even the judge's issue, even on the agenda. It's not on there. So now, if I would have known that, I would have brought my information from the state. They're right. You're right. The judge made a comment that he wants his $5,000, but according to this, and they're responding, they're looking at it. They made the comment. Hey, when it comes to the judge's pay, they're determining the compensation include the supplemental pay paid by the county and the state compensation, and the total must not decrease during the term served. Do you know what that means? The term served. Does anybody know what the starting?
Want you to make your statement?
I'm making my statement.
Well,
Okay, my statement
Nobody
is this.
respond. Just go ahead and say
Okay,
your
my
response.
statement is this. The term served started in this term. You have to go back and look at the judge's salary that the state put out there. And is it over the $5,000 that we gave him? To the taxpayers out there, no elected official other than the sheriff, the judge, the prosecutor, and the probation officer received increases this year. Every elected official did not receive an increase. But he wants his $5,000. It sounds like a me to a we. Second, if we have all this money, and I'll stop it here, we created a separate safety tax on all of the taxpayers in this county because we didn't have revenue. Now we have a salary ordinance that's blessed with the state, and now we're going to come back after charging our taxpayers a special tax. We're going to come back and say, oh, we did have some more money in there, so we're going to give salary increases. That makes sense to you folks? I'll say it from the federal government last week. You've heard it 1,000 times since Trump took office. Common sense. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, since we brought up Trump, I want to start with this. When he was running, he said, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. And I feel like that's exactly what some people on social media is doing. They're coming after the people that do the work in our offices. And that needs to stop. And I'm gonna stop at that on that part because it's really not one thing or another. It's just social media. But Karen was nice enough to give us a thing about, from the State Board of Accounts today, dated January 27th at 9:30 a.m. During an audit, we would be looking for the salary ordinance for the correct payment amount. In this case, $41,560. Why it appears they only budgeted for $40,560. That's talking about our salary ordinance. So if the math is off already at the State Board of Accounts, we need to fix that. We absolutely need to fix that. And as a new person coming in, I've had several people that are the people that make things happen, that work directly under our elected officials, give me their timesheets. Because I just wanted to see, as somebody that looks and works just like you guys, where the money's going, where it come from, and this person, 1487.15 was their salary amount for 72 hours. When you take that divided by 72, that's 20.65 per hour. Now the council with the salary ordinance last year wants to pay them $19.95 an hour. I want to know how that maths out to the 5% increase, because it doesn't. And if the math isn't working, it's incorrect. And as a teacher, I learned a long time ago, there's two things you don't mess with. You don't mess with people's kids, and you don't mess with their money. So I'm all for saving the taxpayers every dime I can. But I also feel for the people that work at this courthouse and they are public servants. And as such, they need to quit being treated like criminals on social media.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's what I have to say about that. Also, as a Republican, and I'll put this out here on social media, I am ashamed of how we are conducting ourselves. Because it is not about we should be for the little man, not raking him over the coals.
The way I look at this issue, we have a multitude of people that were hired on for X amount of pay for 34 hours per week. And my understanding is they kind of gave a concession for 36 hours and no increase in pay for that. And then this most recent salary ordinance that took effect at the beginning of this year attempted to make them hourly employees, but to my understanding, it does not specifically state that they are hourly. Regardless, as Lance said, for the Fair Labor Standards Act, I think it's wise for us to transition these folks to an hourly pay rate, to make sure we simply stay in compliance with those laws at the federal level. However, it's simply, in my opinion, wrong to ask someone to work more hours for the same or less pay. It seems to me that that's what's going on here. I'm a taxpayer. These folks that are working in the courthouse or elsewhere in East County are also taxpayers. And I'm a Republican. I don't like taxes, but I'm not gonna. I wouldn't work a job where I was hired on for so many hours for so much pay, and then told I have to work more hours for the same or less pay. I wouldn't do that, and I don't think it's fair to expect anyone else to do that. So I think we need to, I think the hourly rate is wise to keep accountability for everyone's work and to stay in compliance with the Fair Labor Act we need to make sure we match that hourly rate so that these folks are at least making what they're making last year. Since they have a long history of actually working 34 hours for that rate, that salary. And then, you know, they've also essentially conceded an additional 2 hours for that same rate. So I would like to see us pay hourly, but an hourly rate that matches what they were at least being paid last year. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I think it gets confusing. It gets confusing to a lot of people, and even to myself when I first got this budget. When you say yearly compensation or you say salary, that is the amount that's budgeted for the year, for the position. That doesn't necessarily mean the position is salary or the position is hourly. It's just what has to be budgeted for that position for the year. In the case of now, in the courthouse being open 40 hours a week, it has to be calculated on 40 hours. If the office wants to be open 36 hours, then it can be open 36 hours. There's no contest for me as far as from that point. But if the courthouse has to be open 40, you can stagger employees and or whatnot to where the office is at least open. My concern was if we are paying people, if these positions are hourly positions, that they are paid for the hours that they do work. And that's in my conversations with everybody. With a salary, I worked for Merck for years and years. If I was a salary, it was based off 40 hours. There were hours I worked 50. There were weeks I worked 60. There were weeks I may have worked 28 or 30. It was all meant on getting the job done. And so that's what with the salary positions, if the job's getting done, the job's getting done. You know, whether the office is open 36 or the office is open 40. But when it comes to hourly, if you're paid an hourly salary, and in talking to lots of people, you know, that have businesses, if you're turning in a timesheet that says you work 40 and you work 30, I'm going to pay you that you work 30 in my own business even. So that's kind of where we're at. And, you know, we don't have necessarily time clocks, how we recorded it or whatnot. But that's as far as the conversation for the salary ordinance was you have positions that are paid hourly now in 2025. Let's just make sure that the pay is paid correctly based on hours worked. It's not based on a salary anymore.
I want to switch gears real quick, just to the second issue. I think this one might be easy. It's kind of a yes or no thing with the issue about the supplemental pay that was emailed to all of us from the judge. You know, it was stated in here about the Constitution article that it references. And I think that's going to be a yes, no question if that gets reinstated. So I feel like tackling this one might be easier than the other one.
I'd ask that you read the statement so the public knows what the judge sent us. Read the judge's comments to the public.
The email?
Yep. I got it right here. This is.
No, it's shorter than what I just read a minute ago. I can do it. This was sent on January 17th from Judge Coy's office. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm writing in regards to the county supplement to my salary, which was not included in this year's budget. For 16 years, I've received a $5,000 supplement to my salary. Prior to that, Judge Mitchell received such a supplement way back in the early 1980s through the end of his last term. All my colleagues in my judicial circuit, which include Jefferson, Ripley, Dearborn, and Ohio counties, receive a supplement. I feel that taking away my supplement was a retaliatory act that had no real fiscal impact on county funds. The supplement amounted to less than 0.1% of the county's total budget last year. More importantly, the Indiana Constitution, Article 7, Section 19 precludes the county from removing the supplement during my tenure as judge. I have attached a document from the Indiana State Board of Accounts Fall 2022 conference, which clearly indicates that what you did was illegal under Indiana law. I'm asking you to immediately rectify the situation and reinstate my supplement immediately. Signed, Judge Coy.
So it was illegal.
I would ask, where do, I said to this earlier, Todd, I have already sent this up to the State Board of Accounts. They're reviewing it. That's our opinion. And I would get a lawyer's opinion.
I understand.
I would get
that, but
our
I'm pretty
county
sure the judge knows the law. He knows the law.
Why would you not have gotten that? It affects the, I would ask.
I agree, we should.
Hold on,
have-
hold on, hold on.
We should have an attorney.
Hold on.
Lance, I may have put that wrong one in there because I had 3 of them on, I've got
Yeah, 'cause
24s
I
on
was
my
gonna say,
desk.
hang on, what?
Yeah, it's not on 25.
It's not like, what?
I've got 24s here, but 25 does not have it on
Yeah, this says
That's
2025.
there. No, I had 24s on my desk as well. I'm saying I could have. She asked me.
So
to
in the
recopy.
2025 salary ordinance,
It is not on there.
the judges is not in there, the prosecutors is not in there.
So this package that I'm looking at, is this a 2025 or not? Because that page has it, so my.
Yeah, you're looking at the wrong one.
This might be an updated version of it.
Yeah.
If you want to wait, I'm not here, but I'm really here about the first issue on this. If you want to wait, I don't mind, I don't have.
public, you haven't opened this up for the floor. This is our discussion.
I have the correct one here, so I must have copied you guys.
Okay. 'Cause
Sorry.
it's on here. so-
It's not in
So-
here.
Okay. I'm gonna move forward with this. I'm gonna make a motion to reinstate the prosecutor's $5,000 and the judge's $5,000 to the salary ordinance. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Was it done in past, though? Do we agree, put it in there to make salary increases or hourly increases for
Yes.
jailers and or whatnot, so
Yes.
he willingly gave this up.
He sent us an email offering that to help pay for an increase to the employees in his office. I don't know if he can legally do that without, I don't know. And that's where I come in as with all the legal issues we have, this isn't one that's, worth fighting and from what I'm reading, we would lose anyway. So I think it's an oversight that can
What's
easily
real,
be
what's
fixed.
real and what's not real, because
So-
that's what makes it.
What about Ryan, if he doesn't want it back, like,
Well, because he's an elected official and I'm wondering if he doesn't fall under the same
well, yeah.
stipulations
Take it away.
in the court system. He may fall under the same one. So
Where you have to leave it in there, even if he's still.
So we're basing this off of our opinion. We're not gonna ask an attorney for this.
we don't have an attorney.
I understand. That's why I said, I made that comment.
I know he did.
Let the state come back and tell us whether we did it right or we didn't do it right. And I will say this, I know you weren't at the budget meeting, but we had this conversation, guys. And when we had that conversation, I agree, the prosecutor did a great job, did a wonderful thing, but we did find out he can't direct us what to do with those funds.
Yeah, but
As
when
nice as it was of him to ask to do that, he can't direct us.
so when we withheld Judge Boy's 5,000, we should have knew for sure if we could.
Right.
So,
Okay. So I made the motion to reinstate the $5,000 to Judge Coy's line item and $5,000 to the prosecutor line item. Seconded by Scott. All those in favor? Those opposed? Okay.
I can't make the put it on here because you'll get.
Yes, I will. I
I don't know
have
if anything's
my copy
different
here.
on there other than that, to be honest.
I don't know if the prosecutors is off here.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah, prosecutors is off, the judges is off.
So
Looks like he's on a different page.
now because of that vote, we have to have that on the salary ordinance.
Correct.
I
So
have to do an amendment. And I didn't get the copy that Karen brought down. She didn't give me a copy for whatever reason, but the salary ordinance clearly says that the deputies all make 41,560. So I don't know why, that's what I sent in, so I don't know how the $1,000 got,
okay, at this point,
yeah, I don't know.
But that's all on here too, at the 41,560.
Yeah,
I guess for anyone who wants to change the hourly rate for, and what I'm looking at is there's 16 employees that were working 36 and we're asked to work 40 without the additional fund, the additional money.
But are those offices
And-
working 36 or are they working 40? Because if they're still working 36, it's just making sure that their hourly rate matches what they were making before.
Right. So does anybody want to go through their numbers if they do want to change it?
Can I say something on behalf of everyone here? Just because of the Facebook post and what have you. It's not the whole issue that they don't want to work 40 hours. Yeah, it's been nice to have a Thursday afternoon off, but it's what's fair is fair. Like you had said, they need to be compensated for the hours worked, not I'm not working 40 hours. I'm not doing this. We're going to close my office and we're leaving. That's not the whole point. Because we're here to serve the county and community. That's why we want to be here. Not because we get off Thursday afternoon.
Well, as
I mean,
far as for
you know what I
me,
mean?
being
So-
new on council, that's not how I look at it, Gail. I look at it as you, as the director of your department, or the elected official.
Yes,
You can determine with your department how many hours your employees are in
Right.
there, as long as it gets the job done. So I'm not gonna gripe if you're open 36 hours. Would it be nice that the office is open 40 where people are
Mhm.
staggered to where if I have a certain afternoon, I can go in there and find somebody? That would be great. But I can't tell you how many hours your employees work.
right.
My
And I'm
biggest
not
thing
saying
is,
that. I'm just,
If
I want to
they're
make it
at
clear.
36, I want to make sure they're not making less money than they did last year.
Yeah, because they
That's
go
one of
beyond
my concerns.
36 hours, I don't want their rate to drop because it was 38.
Right,
But the county has to
Stay.
budget as if you're open 40.
40.
So let's just say.
Why do they have to do that? This is,
Hold on, we're gonna, does anybody want to present what number they think it ought to be if you think it's different than the 1998? I've got some ideas, but I'll let somebody else go first. if they
If,
want.
I think the number you and I talked about was 2065. If it was 2065 an hour and it's 1998, the difference was 67 cents an hour.
Right.
So if you take 67 cents an hour, times, 40 hours times 52 weeks, then that's a difference like $1,268.
Yeah, I tried to put that on this sheet, go pass that around.
So you're looking to change those salary positions into an hourly.
No, they are hourly. It's a matter of
The courthouse?
hourly rates. No.
So this sheet, and I put my name, I don't know if did you get Gary one?
Sorry.
I didn't know if people would have other sheets. I put my name at the top of this one, so if you don't like it, you know who to blame. So these are the list of people that, the 16 I was talking about. So like Kim mentioned, as you go across the columns, you got the position, what department they're in, the fund, because majority are general fund except for the reassessment position. Their 2024 salary, the next column is $20.65 an hour, which is last year's hourly rate at 36 hours. So to me, if you expand that to 40, that salary goes to $42,963 in the next column. The next column is that $1,000 bonus that the council agreed to give them in December. I felt that was just out in the open vote on record, and I feel like that should stay. So if you add that to it, the new salary, in my opinion, ought to be $43,963 to go to 40 hours. That would be a new hourly rate of $21.13.
Well, let me ask you real quick. Are these salary positions or are they hourly
Hourly.
positions?
This would be,
This is what.
yes, so in my opinion, these have been salary positions. And if we're gonna go to hourly with offices working different hours, this would be the conversion to do that.
Lance,
Lance.
could I just add, I did a few numbers, I'm not trying to interrupt, I do apologize. But if you look from 48,
Can we
Hold
wait
on,
until,
yeah, wait
until.
wait until we,
talk about-
we're gonna, wait until we get to that point. I'll ask for audience questions later. I appreciate it though.
My payroll deputy is not on this list.
So new hourly rate is 21.13. So right now in the next column over is the 2025 salary. So by the raises we gave and that bonus, I mean, we kind of already went part of the way there. So what's in there now is 41,560. So that last column would be the difference that we would need to add each one of these positions to make the money available for 40 hours, should they choose to work it.
If they work 40 hours, Mike, is what it is. If they work
So that's
36
another
hours.
38.
So, yeah, so the 2,400 would come out of Stacy's reassessment. That's the green line, because that's a separate fund. All the rest would be general fund. So general fund would be the 35,927. and then Stacy would cover the rest. But that would appropriate money there if they want to work 40. Like I said, if they don't, that money never leaves the general fund.
It stays in.
So what you're saying is, if we make a motion on this, if all of these 16 people were in theory to work 40 hours, it would cost the county an additional $35,927.
From the general fund.
Yes.
But that's it, but there
That
are
is it.
The offices are, a lot of them are gonna only be 36.
So it would likely,
Recess,
Have
did get that
no-
$1,000, did they?
it would have a net zero effect.
Right.
correct?
Unless the offices, unless it was a week where things were really busy, where everybody was in there 40 hours.
I also want to make, from the budget, did eliminate 2 positions last year. One in the recorder's office, one in the or in the clerk's office.
Mhm.
So if you look at that, I mean, we're already, that employee, those 2 employees being gone, it's going to balance out with those 2 employees being gone. Even if we give, if we try to match the salary to make it an hourly.
Well, the thing is too, say you're hiring in somebody, say somebody retires from a position they've had 20 years. If whoever's the hiring person in is looking at experience and whatnot, and there's a level A to Z, of a hiring, you obviously shouldn't hire in somebody new with no experience at the salary that 20-year experienced person left.
You just said, hang on,
Yeah.
you just said it right there. So if you're hiring in a new person, are you hiring them in and showing them what their salary's gonna be? Or are you gonna show
It
them
would
what
be
their hourly rates
It
will
would
be?
be hourly.
Hourly rates. Okay,
And that was
So
my
we're-
question too, Mike, was any of these positions, and I'm kind of lucky that I don't know who all's in these positions, so to me, I just look at, the title and the numbers.
I just think
So I'm
for too
looking at
long,
it.
the hourly and salary have just been combined in the same sentence too much.
Yes,
It's been-
I agree.
I agree, and that was my question too, but I wanted to know, were there job offers?
Yes.
Were there job offer letters for anybody? So that was coming from the corporate side. Did anybody in any of these positions have a job offer letter when you hired in that said, you're gonna make this much per year, or this is how much you make per hour? I still don't have one in my hands.
Good point.
So I don't think those really are it. So we're just trying to, these are hourly positions, these are salary positions. If you're working on an hourly position, what rate are you getting paid at per hour that you're working, period? To me, I'm so black and white. To me, that's simple, but let's make sure people aren't making less money than they did before for the same job.
The
That's what,
reassessment didn't get the $1,000 either.
sorry.
The reassessment
Reassessment
deputy did
didn't
not
get
get
the
the $1,000. Because you decided to do the payroll deputy. I'm not for sure why she's being left out.
It's
On this, because
we kind of set precedent. We changed that salary to move her to 40 hours, in my opinion.
but she was not making what the prior payroll deputy was last year. I bumped her back down when she first came into my office. So I feel like should be entitled to this.
Well,
I mean,
She's still salary though, right, as the deputy?
well, not if you guys are gonna make her hourly though.
But each office holder can have a deputy that they do make an hourly,
it'd be, I think
or I mean, that they do make a salary.
that would be, there's well, I think there's a bonding issue there, and they're made a chief deputy.
Yeah,
So there's some other things around with that.
if they're bonded or not.
But I didn't include a payroll because it was increased previously. From my understanding, was for the additional time needed to get the job done. Basically went to 40 hours. So I
Then
didn't,
that's-
in this conversion to 40, I didn't add that in there.
But then her salary last year was only based on the 38,666, not the 42,900 that was in there. When I gave her the increase. Because I think you and I even talked about that because you said you got her quite a bit lower than she was.
Well, that's,
I mean, she's only making the 41,560 that everybody else is making right now.
I understand, but. And it's kind of like Kim said, it's not the person there, it was the job was moved to 40 hours, my understanding previously, so I did not include it
Well,
in this conversion.
We
That's
never
why
could
it's all-
figure that out if it was or wasn't. It did go to hourly and
To
then,
me, it was, that's
you
why we
know.
approved the increase.
right.
That's,
But-
that was kind of a done deal, and that one became a position like the others, majority of these that are already 40. Then that's where the payroll fell in with that group. Now, I mean, these guys may differ, that's fine, I mean, that's the reason I didn't have it on my list.
So what is he gonna move it back to
So-
42 or the 43? Is that what you're gonna do? Move it up?
Hang on a minute. So do you guys wanna present different numbers, or do you have different ideas based other than what I presented?
That's
Thoughts
basically
or-
the numbers that I kind of calculated. However, I did the 1998 and the 2065, the difference there.
Yeah.
But you put the $1,000 bonus back in there, which I personally don't have a problem with because that was agreed to in December. Even though I wasn't on council at the time, I was at the budget meetings.
For the reassessment? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm saying it
Or just overall?
overall, when we're doing, when this calculation was done in December, to put the bonus back in. I was just looking at the 19, whatever per hour, and the 2067 per hour, what the difference was there. And telling that, or telling Lance, so, add that 67 cents back in per hour, so they make the same money they did at least last year. The 1,000, what Gail's saying is 1,000, but for the reassessment deputy wouldn't be on there. So that would make the new hourly rate less.
It will be 42,963.
Yeah. Based on what you're saying, Gail, right?
The
On
reassessment? Yeah, the $1,000 did not get put on. just
So
her
they
salary.
get 42,963 was your rate. 42,963 divided by 40,
2080.
yeah, 2080.
Well, it'd be the 2065. It'd be the same as. It would be the same as last year, just moved out to
Yeah.
40 hours.
Lance, as I'm looking at your numbers here, 2065, was that a 36 hour, taking that 36 hours instead of 40 hours?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you got loved it, hated,
The,
what do you think?
I like Lance, that's fair. But I think it definitely needs to. If salary or comes out, the confusion.
Yeah.
It's
And
trying to break down a salary into hourly rate based on how many hours you're working per week is beyond ridiculous.
And really, none of the salaries are like that. The yearly compensation is just if the positions all work 40 hours.
Right.
It's just the hourly is broke down on the far right column, so you know which positions are getting paid out.
And I'll tell you, that's why, but to me, that should be strictly an hourly position. Cool.
And they are, but we still have to budget as if, I see what it's 40 hours, so we're not caught.
Yes.
And the only other thing on the salary ordinance I thought might need to come off is the hourly rate for the probation officers, because I think it's pretty well spelled out that their salary, under 11-13-1-8, which I wrote the number down, but I didn't, it's basically their rules for compensation. it basically says salary, their
Well, it's
salary
got-
officers.
Probation officer is salary on here. Chief probation officer and probation officer are salary. The junior probation officer is the only one on there that's hourly.
Juvenile, but see, well, this is where they went ahead and calculated them out, and this, I'm guessing this is an updated one for years. But here's the juveniles here, 34, and then the chief and the other ones here.
But
I mean,
those aren't salary.
Yeah, those are,
salary.
it's just got the hour, I think we should just take that out, because I don't think the hourly matters on that, I think those are two salary positions.
So on the clean one that we did, Gail, can we take out anybody that's salary out of that rate per hour column?
Mhm.
If you have this master spreadsheet, right?
Right here.
Or send me the Excel spreadsheet, I'll get it off. I mean, either way. Because I think that'd take the confusion out too. But that at least makes sure people aren't paid less than they were last year. And then what we have to do is just make sure, how is it gonna be the tracking to make sure, hours.
Right, and I put timesheets on there, I think Gail might speak to that when we get down to the next item.
And I'm not just saying timesheets, because I've had tons of phone calls with people.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you have time clocks, or why don't you have this, or why don't, you? To be honest, I don't know how to answer some of it. Because I know they've been discussed for at least 20 years. Whether we do them or not, or we have a security officer that swipes people.
I've never-
I don't know.
We're not doing ADP, it's AOD.
I mean, they talked about that in the past, but that's nothing we're gonna tackle tonight.
Yeah. So where are we at on this?
So, I mean, does anybody have any other numbers they wanna go over, or something they come up with?
Because Matt, that's not changing anything with the salary ordinance, correct?
Well, no, it changed salary. You didn't ask.
But that
No,
just,
that's not what you're talking about. It's another whole issue with salary ordinance. You do what you think is right.
no, but we have who's salary and who's hourly. That's not changing at all. If you're hourly, you're hourly.
You're
If you're
amending the
salary,
salary
you're salary.
ordinance.
As far as rates.
We have to do an amendment to do that.
We gotta pass the new, amend the salary limits. If we have to change.
And what
Well,
else,
we're gonna do it anyway.
what else do you have to do?
Well, we have to do additional appropriations.
And you have to advertise this twice.
Yeah, advertise.
We'll get-
It has to be just like salary ordinance.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I want to continue to talk about my payroll deputy. I had to talk about this before, and I just think it's not fair because I chose to not bump her up to what my current payroll deputy was working. I put her back to the regular wages.
That payroll deputy
Because-
was making $20,800 in 2022 and is now at a total limit of how much? 42 or 41?
41,560.
That's 100% increase.
I don't know that the payroll deputy was making 22,000 in 21.
She made what all the other.
She made what all the other deputies.
You should go and look at what that payroll clerk was back in 2020.
I have looked at it.
Okay.
That's a big jump.
Yeah.
So you-
I mean, that's why we-
Was that for the entire year, or was that, I mean, where are you getting your numbers for that?
Salary ordinance for 2022.
And it's on the county website. I mean, you can go in there and look.
What's
You
the
can go
salary?
on Gateway.
Part-time.
20,000.
No, it wasn't part-time, it was, I think it's
20,800.
yeah,
No
she
way.
didn't make 21.
Oh, my
Me
God.
neither.
Macy made what?
No way.
We need to find that out.
No problem.
Well, Gateway
We
and
get
look.
that, well,
You
if
can
you
go
go, if
on.
you go out the gateway, if that was somebody that was only there part-time,
Maybe it's because.
then that's gonna be, the gateway's gonna be off.
I know that
Look at Gateway.
you can look
You
at,
have to work part of the year.
there was,
Stay.
one
You only work
of
part
them
the
only
year.
worked part of the year
It's gotta
after
be off.
the prior
Casey.
retired, but still, that shouldn't, and I know that the,
We went from 44 to. Payroll tax, yeah. To 900. Those are three.
As somebody that's new on,
What is it, salary?
and I think,
This year,
Yeah, everybody on your salary. Anyways,
24.
forever. Not everybody, but I mean, outside the highway and law enforcement.
This position you guys talking about, is it salary now, or is it hourly?
it was salary.
it was salary before.
It was, but now it's
It was
hourly.
salary prior to, and then the lady retired, and then someone was brought in. That's probably when the salary jumped down. I don't know. I'd have to look. I know that there was an adjustment. And she only worked part of the year. But then when the new payroll deputy came in, then that's when it went up to the 42.9. it was a 40-hour week job,
Part of the year,
So-
6 months.
maybe. So then,
Because that would.
but then when she left and I brought my payroll deputy that is in there now, she went to the 38,666, and that's what I based her raise on.
Why did you do that?
Because the 40-hour, when it got moved to 40 hours, of course, I wasn't working in that area, but then at the end of those days, there were some days that we were finding stuff to do, or so I didn't think that it was necessarily a constant 40 hours. There's always stuff to be filed, there's always stuff to be doing, and now my payroll deputy now, of course, she's learning everything, but I felt like she was brand new coming into that job. It wasn't fair to bump her up to 42.9 right off the bat. So, and she was okay with
But
that
she was working 36.
at that time. Yes.
When did she start?
What's that?
When did she start?
When did you start? September?
It was in, before that,
It was Yvette.
there was a vet working 36, 40.
Sometimes she was working 40. I mean, I have her timesheets. I could look. I just, you've got your custodian that you're going to give a $4,000 increase to.
That was just moving the,
She already works 40 hours though.
custodian was 40 hours.
Yes. The custodian works 40 hours.
I did not know that.
So there's 4 people in the auditor's office,
So
right?
What's that?
There's 4 people in the auditor's.
Counting myself, yeah, there's 4.
And everybody's on the 2025, the 41,560.
Everyone is at the 41,560.
It's the 3.
Well, everyone was approved at 41,560. All the deputies within the courthouse were, except for the judge's office.
I'm looking.
Okay, no, I mean, knowing that, then I would strike out the courthouse custodian position and reinstate and replace it with the payroll position in the auditor's office.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Because you're saying the custodian.
I mean, nothing
Yeah.
against the custodian, but
Yeah.
that's already.
She told me to go back, they were working 36, so.
So that's gonna be the payroll.
So, it's not just changing this amount. I mean, if we would do this, everyone's agreeing that we're now hourly for all these positions except for the elected officials and the probation officers. I mean, I think,
That makes it cut and dry.
I honestly don't care one way or another, but it needs to be set either hourly or salary. I mean, to be honest, it's gotta be either one or the other. It can't be broken.
Well, if the
Yeah.
Department of Labor ever gets their.
Well, yeah,
It's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I
at
mean,
some point or
I
another.
totally
We
get
have
that. You're
to hourly.
right there on.
Well, we've always paid, highway department, other departments hourly, so I mean, it's not an issue, it's just making sure that everybody's aware that that's how it's gonna be.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Because we've got to move forward. We've got to get this cleared up and we need to move forward with the county business.
Like, if you get new hires in, they're probably they may come in below 36, so you're gonna have to go hourly anyways. For the new law.
So for first payroll period, you didn't pay hourly,
Now they get.
Right.
so that's still gotta be corrected.
The first pay period on January 3rd was for 24 hours.
The 24.
It was all based on the 24.
Guarantee state board of accounts is gonna one-time sheets for hourly employees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Salary,
There-
probably not so much, but
There is timesheets now. Every department has timesheets now. The copies that I keep, I don't mean to jump ahead. but
I guess let's wrap this up. Notes I had time sheets on there next. We can go, Gail was gonna speak to that. I mean,
Because we have nothing really to do with time sheets, to be honest.
no, we don't. I mean, I'll entertain a motion if anybody wants to make a move on this.
Just in the corrected with the reassessment deputy. The regular.
So what is the hourly rate that we are talking about?
2113. Correct?
For, I mean, as it is on the sheet, the majority is 2113. Reassessment would be 2065. The jury administrator would be 2446.
Basically, what do you think an hour difference in 2024?
That, which is basically that $1,000.
Right, that $1,000 that was added in there.
Now, 2026, when we do budget 2026, we probably won't walk on this bonus. We did that because.
Don't,
Some of those bonuses weren't, they weren't done.
reassessment,
They
yeah,
were
reassessment
done
wasn't.
before then, right? Those $1,000 bonuses, those weren't done for the budget year in December, those were done prior, like mid-year, right?
No, we did it in
No.
December.
did it in
Like
December.
last meeting of the year or something.
We did it when we adopted the salary.
The clerk's office got an extra, if that's what you're talking about.
Maybe
They did get extra. They got $3,000.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Can't call it a bonus, so.
Yeah.
And this was left off because, it's not the general fund. It's ACO, it's the assessment fund, but we did have $1,000 bonus. I think, well, that's what was voted.
Okay, so where in the general fund, where are we budgeted at from?
Right, that would just be 2065, so their salary would be here.
Where are we thinking to get that out? Where's that budget gonna come from?
It would come out of general. fund.
And how much is in the general?
I mean, it just depends on,
Don't have a
Well, different
specific
things.
number.
I can't just pull a general fund balance.
Well, 'cause I thought that when the budget was done, there was this pot of money, it was all divided into the 2025 salary. Broke down under, whatever the total was. You know, this 5,769,000 number, yeah. So now obviously it's not going to be that, that's the state job. So we still have to know like where that, so that 35.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's gonna come out of the balance that's currently in leftover, because we don't spend everything that's,
Yeah,
you know,
It-
this is a conservative number, the 5 million. You know, 2,000.
Well, it's also,
So there's a balance in there.
and that's also if those offices were all at 40 hours, which you know they're not all would be.
Yeah.
So it's not really gonna be spent.
Yeah, it's asking for permission to, we may need to spend this, but maybe not, but we gotta have it in there in case we do.
Yeah, in case of.
Don't forget your 10, the judge and prosecutor too.
Yeah, that's in there as well.
Is that including in this?
No, it's not included in there.
And I left them separate, because it's two separate issues.
It'll be at 48. Total, out of general, total somewhere.
I thought you said reassessment.
It does.
But it wasn't in the general.
It's not in this general.
Anyway,
Oh, it's in its own.
yes.
Well, I'll charge forward, I guess. I'm gonna make a motion to make the full-time employees hourly, with the exception of elected officials and probation officers. You know, and also want to change the, I want to raise the annual salary of the clerk deputy, auditor deputy 1, auditor deputy 2, treasurer deputy, recorder deputy, assessor deputy, ISETS clerk, election deputy, the administrator in the prosecutor's office manager, victim assistant, extension office manager, and court reporter to $43,963, which would be an hourly rate of $21.13. And the payroll clerk. Sorry.
Sorry.
Penciled in right here at the bottom. And payroll clerk. Reassessment deputy would go to $42,963, which would be an hourly rate of $20.65.
Out of the reassessment budget.
Yes, that comes out of reassessment. And the jury administrator in the judge's office salary would go to $50,884, which is an hourly rate of $24.46. Probably the longest motion ever.
Yeah, can you repeat that?
I do want to make sure we don't, nobody leaves here unless we get this where it's supposed to be. Like, I want everybody to agree with what we're voting on here, so I can go over it again if you want.
Can we, and I'm not
I
opening
should,
it,
hold on, I should ask for a second, sorry.
before we ask for a second,
You need clarification on the motions, I have to ask for a second before discussion.
okay, no, go ahead, I'll second it.
You'll second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, do we have any questions, comments?
I know that, several of our department heads are here. And I just want to see if everybody would be in agreement to have them just the department heads, have a moment to, kind of give their opinion. I know Gail's given her opinion, but I know Stacy's here and Dawn and, the judge. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody.
Can open to the floor with motion.
Just the elected officials that are over those offices.
I understand. And I personally have talked to several of them. I've been in a lot of these meetings where people have clearly spoken their piece. I kind of got a good feeling where everybody's there with it. I was going to open up to public comments at the end. So I think I'd rather do that just to keep order.
Okay.
No other discussion, so I'm gonna restate the motion. So the full-time employees would move to hourly, with the exception of elected officials and the 3 probation officers. And there would also be a salary, an annual salary increase of the clerk deputy, 2 auditor deputies. I'm sorry. The deputy in the clerk's office, the 2 deputies in the auditor's office, the treasurer deputy, recorder deputy, assessor deputy, ISETS clerk, the election deputy, administrator in the prosecutor's office, the prosecutor office manager, victim assistant in the prosecutor's office, the extension office manager, the court reporter in the judge's office, and the payroll clerk in the auditor's office. Those salaries would go to $43,963. Should be an hourly rate of $21.13. The reassessment deputy would go to $42,963, which would be an hourly rate of $20.65. And the jury administrator in the judge's office would go to $50,884 for an hourly rate of $24.46. I made the motion, Carrie seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? All right.
But that's still not a change from 2025 from what was budgeted, because all those positions were budgeted as hourly. You know what I'm saying?
We
I
just,
mean, we're saying salary, we're budgeted as if they work 40 hours a week, but
Right.
yes.
they're not, they're
If they-
not
if they-
salary,
if they
still
choose-
hourly.
So
If they're
the,
hourly-
yes, in the budget, it would, if, as long as they work up to 40 hours a week, this is the budget that it's gonna be, isn't it?
Right. But that's
But
what
if they
Mike
work
was
36
saying, it's
hours,
confusing when we keep saying salary.
Right,
It's the yearly
right.
compensation they could make
If they work 40 hours a week.
we still have to do the total amount for the year, which I, what I'm calling salary for the state to get their approval.
Right.
So we have money, so. So in light of that, we need to advertise for the additional needed to cover those. I think with us not having a paper in the county anymore, there are subscriptions to the Madison Courier in Switzerland County, so that qualifies. I think we need to have a 10-day, or it has to be a 10-day notice, and also post it in the building. If that works out, that we get it, if we hit all those dates for our February meeting, we can have that on the agenda for February. If we need more time for the posting, then we can,
Okay.
have to do it the next week.
When is payroll being done again?
Friday.
So on Friday, we're gonna be paying off hourly, right?
When does this go into effect?
Well, they were
10
already
days?
hourly in December for the 2025, right? So 2025 was set with hourly rates on positions. So the next payroll, they should be paid on whatever hours they work, right? These rates may not be in there yet, because we don't have hourly rate. But the 2025.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I think,
hourly rate,
yeah,
already approved by-
there wasn't a lot of clarity between everybody, I think, in the previous one, and that's the main reason we tackled this. So I feel good about here going forward. The portion of time, a little bit of time in between will need to be, I know the commissioners have discussed it and that's got to be addressed. Or look and see if there's any issue at all. I mean,
But still, the 2025. This, on the 2025, any of these hourly positions should be paid based on the hours that they worked in 2025.
for whatever day, I'll have to see what days, how many days we're talking about. Yeah, I mean, that's what we gotta figure
Yeah,
out.
I mean, the pay period's already ended.
Yeah.
It ended last Friday.
Yeah, it does. I was, in the right column, even in the budget that was done in December, was broke down into hourly rates because it was to go
And list,
hourly and salary.
and list the rate per hour. I don't see where it says.
That's the ones that they put it in.
Oh.
That was in the budget meetings in December. Of course, I wasn't actually on council, but I went to the budget meetings and that was all discussed there and all broken down. Because that's where I think we'll get in trouble if there is an audit.
So Scott, the state looked at it, said if you take the hourly rate, you multiply it times 40, you come up with that number in the second column. And they view that as an hourly rate. Those positions to be hourly. Those are salaries.
Yeah, those are your.
Their
Elected-
salary of.
They're
Elected
elected
officials
officials
or
for
what?
salary.
It does now.
For 2025.
So we've got the additional appropriations, we'll get those posted. Time sheets is the next item. Gail, I don't, if you just want to speak to that. I know you work with State Board of Accounts closely about what's needed and
I think the State Board of Accounts has heard enough from Switzerland County last week, so between, I think every department's probably called them, but, so there was the talk about the timesheets, which everybody keeps a timesheet of their own employees in their office. I do not keep them. I do not want them. I don't have enough time to. I know it says down here where I believe the very first administrator is the one that designed this timesheet way back when, that the timesheet should be based or kept in my office, but there's no need for me to keep them because when this is filled out, the employee signs it and the department head signs it. From there, the department head transfers the hours or whatever, because we weren't technically, or there was some gray area there, I guess. They transferred to the 99 form. The State Board of Accounts approved this one. This is their voucher.
okay.
So I was told by two ladies at the State Board of Accounts 2 different times that if they come in and they're going to look at an audit, they're going to look and see that X is making this amount and it shows it in this salary ordinance. If it's okay, it's okay. Now, if they come back, then they're gonna come back and they're gonna ask for this for more clarity so that they can see. But the department head signs off on this, the department head signs off on the voucher, and then my payroll deputy looks at it, my stamp goes on the back of it, or I sign it, whichever it may be. So there's no, nobody is saying that they are working more. There's been threats of ghost employment and all this rigmarole. There is none of that.
Right.
If you work 72, you work 72. That's it. If you work 80, then you work 80, so be it. But
But you'll be paid, so you work 72, you're paid at this.
72 times the
going
hourly
forward,
rate.
it,
Yes.
yes.
Now, do they, if they do an audit, do they, or does the timesheets need to be kept in two places for internal control purposes, or they just,
For checks and balances.
they,
For internal controls as far as
if we, like, if the department head keeps their copy, do they
Of
want you to?
this?
Yes.
no, I do not keep a copy of
They
this.
don't need, they don't, okay.
No, I have a copy of what I'm gonna say that the majority of, the department heads probably keep a copy of this voucher. And then what they send in to me, if we come back, State Board of Accounts, and it doesn't match what they have here, then they need to be held accountable, you know? Why they say they worked this and only turned in this, or vice versa, whatever it may be.
So nobody keeps them.
Yeah, the department heads keep these.
Oh, okay.
These are just mine from this year. So, and I also, the commissioners, they have their employees, they're up in my office as well, but other departments I do not keep.
Okay. I know you
So-
work closely with the State Board of Accounts on what's required and what's needed, and
Right.
if
I mean,
anything else is needed, I know you'll let the department heads know.
Yeah.
So that's what I put on here. The next thing is the indigent fund encumbrance. It was emailed to us. Might be the easiest thing we do tonight.
That's all.
Some of you may have got a blue sheet. I didn't, might have a blue sheet. Yeah.
So this was money, this was a grant from the Community Foundation
Yes.
to the nurse managed clinic, correct?
Mhm.
And they didn't spend it all, basically. So they just need permission to spend,
Carry that balance.
yeah, carry it over and spend money this year on last year's grant,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion that we allow the nurse managed clinic to carry over the $785 through June of 2025. I second the motion.
Okay. Kim made a motion to approve the encumbrance of $785, seconded by Carrie. Is there any questions, comments? All those in favor? No one's been on board, so there's no board reports.
That was the correct payment amount in this case was 41,560. Well, it appears they only budgeted for 4560. And you said, what'd you say about that, Gil?
What was your,
It's-
I don't have that. I didn't get a copy of that, so I don't know.
I've got 41.
It's 41,560 is what's on the salary ordinance, so I don't know.
I might,
So State Board of Accounts is looking at the wrong one.
I don't know, something, because this is what
Was that the
41,560
$1,000
is.
we added into it?
Bobby withdrew.
yeah, but it's in here.
It's in there though.
It's in here though.
I know.
So I don't know.
I'll have to call them tomorrow.
Get some more details if there's something.
Yeah, I
you need to
mean,
address.
something's not right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll open the floor up to public comments. If anyone would like to come forward, and I just ask you to state your name.
Thank you all for a minute here. Thank you all for your input on these questions. I appreciate the time that you've taken to do that. One thing I guess I would ask is, where do you all, and I spoke out of turn there a little bit ago, Mr. Jansen was talking, where is it you think you get the authority to tell elected officials if their staff are salary or hourly? Where does that come from?
I did it on the authority that we have the power to make this, I can't remember the exact wording, schedules of compensation.
Right, compensation. I receive pay from the state and I am salaried, and that includes my compensation. I don't think the definition of compensation means it has to be hourly. Am I wrong?
It doesn't have to be, but I mean, I feel like the council has the authority to set that rate. So
And I agree. To that extent, I agree. I guess where my jumping off point is here is that, so my staff have always been salaried. They've just always been considered salaried. Last year, we were asked, elected officials were asked to meet with commissioners to go over salaries, and we submitted a budget to you all. Last year's the first year we ever, or at least for me as an elected official, we didn't have meetings with you folks. There was no budget meeting. So I get an approved budget and I see my staff's salaries on there, and then I get a salary ordinance, and out to the right is numbers broken down by hours, which nobody told us was coming, any of us, right? So I don't have a problem with you doing that. I don't know what's happened here tonight. So this deal here, so my office is 36 hours a week. So does that mean my staff is going to get paid less starting the next payroll cycle than they got paid this time? Is that the idea?
They'll be paid, their hourly rate will be higher, but it'll be based on the hours that they work. So
And there was no reason, you didn't feel a need to maybe talk about that with us individually? So we kind of know, because I don't know what the bottom line is for my two ladies that are on that.
well,
The three probation officers are statutory, their salary is 24/7, you don't, that's.
I understand.
So it's the other two ladies.
I guess I'll answer this, and it may apply to everybody's question. I didn't agree with a whole lot of stuff, the way this whole thing went down. And I thought for sure the council would stay out of it, and we got drug into it, in the lawsuit I'm referring to. I tried to make adjustments last year, and I didn't, my motions didn't carry. I was voted to put in the president's chair this year, and I thought I'm gonna try to tackle this best way I know how. I contacted as many people as I could, asked as many questions as I could. Obviously, we have no attorney. I've talked to State Board of Accounts, like probably everybody in this county has. I've done everything I did to try to make this agreeable going forward. And what I worked on tonight was the best solution I could come up with. It's not fair to everybody, which means it's probably the best solution. Nobody likes it. So, it's hourly. People get paid a reasonable rate for what they work. And I thought that's the best thing to do. And that's what I did.
Well, I guess,
I'll leave it at that.
yeah, I guess my position here, and you know, when you say you don't have a lawyer as a person who used to do that, I was county attorney, but the council always had their own lawyer. You all, I think you should consider having your own lawyers, because you have two very different jobs, council and commissioners. I don't think you have the legal authority to do what you did.
Okay.
I think what needs to happen is I actually have a lawyer waiting on a call from me, and it's Mr. Sharp. And I'm probably gonna intervene in your lawsuit, and I'm gonna subpoena all you people, and I'm gonna say, you tell that Judge Cleary why you think you have the legal authority to dictate to a judge whether their staff is salary or hourly. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with it if in the next budget cycle, you said, we're thinking about it like this. Here's what they would be worth per hour. So at least I would have some heads up and I could work with you on it. But you're just springing it on me. And the other thing I would tell you, be really careful about listening to somebody read a statute in a meeting, because where you're at right now, listening to people read statutes who aren't lawyers, you're on the hook. You're waiting to hear from a judge. You may get a bill for $126,000 in legal fees. Now, I'll tell you something. Social media will say, well, we settled, we didn't lose, we settled. When you got to pay, I've been in this business 37 years. When you got to pay the other side's lawyer, you lost. You lost. And when you got to pay them over 100 G's, which is you might not have to pay them anything, but there's a possibility you might have to pay them. You really lost if you have to pay that much. And your former lawyer came to see me before he resigned to tell me he was resigning, because he can't tolerate all this disregard of his advice. Your lawyer you got in your lawsuit's a guy named Love, outstanding litigator, one of the best, but he's not a municipal lawyer. You're municipal here. That's where you're at. So I'm a little concerned about where we're at right here. It's like, say, I can intervene in a lawsuit, and I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you I'm going to do it. I'm not trying to get you to do something differently. That's not the point. If you may be right. 64 years, I've been wrong, but I don't think legally you can do what you just did. So I think if somebody is salaried, now going forward, I agree with Mr. Bear. I think you bring on somebody new and you say, here's what we're going to pay you by the hour, and you're going to work this many hours, or if you work 36 or 40, here's what your pay will be. I don't disagree with him at all on that. I think that's right. But my two ladies have been salaried for, one of them's 33 years, one of them's 27 or 26, something like that. Now suddenly tell them, oh, by the way, changing it. And it's not, we're not grateful. The council has always funded my office. I've been grateful ever, I'm in my 17th year. My office, we've been able to function because of how you take care of us up there. But I would say you might recheck that with a lawyer. You're going to want to hunt one down pretty quick. But that's what I'm looking to do. I know I wasn't part of that lawsuit. Some of these people in the shadow, they were in it, and I have a feeling that lawyer's going to be bringing that up, because he read it. I mean, it says very clearly, you don't get to dictate the hours. You can't do an end around of that. You can't. You're trying to circumvent this business that you can't set the hours for an office by saying, well, we can pay you this much, and you decide how many hours you want. You can't. That's against the law. So.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
And I took Gateway from 2018 to 2024, 25 is not in there, so I just used what was actually out there in the salary ordinances. For the deputies,
Vicki, can you introduce yourself?
oh, sorry, Vicki Hinman with Switzerland County. Showed what Gateway had them as salaries, which is reported by the county. What hours they were the physical amount of hours per year, and broke it down, what it would be considered if you put that in calculator. So you can see over 8 years, technically, if they were hourly, what they were making per hour by those hours. So in 2018, at 1,768 hours a year, they were making $18.88 an hour. Before the changes you made tonight, it was going to be $19.98 an hour, working 2,080 hours. So they made the math. It's a simple math. It's all it is. I just wanted to put that so you guys can see, not trying to make, just you can look at it.
And this is which department, Vicki?
This is just for all the deputies, not the clerks, deputies. So for every single deputy, if you look in Gateway, all the deputies basically made the same amount. I looked at all the different departments to make sure. Some of them had a little bit off because maybe they didn't have enough PTO time or whatever, a few dollars off here and there, but for the overall, that was the number.
Not talking deputy sheriff's.
No, just in the court. Sorry, just in the courthouse. Just clerks.
just to make it clear
Yeah,
for me.
deputy, deputy clerks, I guess is what you would call it. I don't know. All the deputies in the court.
And Vicky, in 2023, that was 34 hours.
Yes, 1768 is 34 hours. So from 2018 to 2023, they worked technically 34 hours a week, 1,768 hours per year. In 2024, it up to the 36 hours at 1872. So you go from 2023 at 21.75 an hour to 2024 to $20.65 an hour, a decrease of $1.10 per hour. How do you give somebody an increase and decrease their wage? Makes no sense. And then to 2025, 1998 an hour, another decrease of 67, just so you can see on the table and kind of make your own decision. You know, you guys are in the fiscal body,
Thank
more
you.
information.
Thank you.
I got a question. I'm Matthew Conway. I live here in Switzerland County. And all week I've been seeing posts that there's been wage theft and pound theft. People are being paid for hours they don't work. I don't know anything about it, but this person, former council member, is making a ruckus online. Anybody explain what she's talking about?
No, we're not, we can't speak for private citizens that post things online. That's not our.
I mean,
I understand what
I
you're
guess my
saying, but
question is, you know, this, if it's happened, it's not just started happening within the last 2.5 weeks since she's left office. This is probably something that has been going on for a long time. So why all of a sudden is she making a ruckus about it? I mean, I'm just curious, is this something that's going on?
Matthew,
Oh, yeah, her, not them.
and I asked some of the deputy clerks and stuff to, or the deputies to, and I'm talking about in the offices, to send me their timesheets. And there is no timesheet that are, or pay stub that I saw that they were putting in 80 hours in there. I have a pay stub here for 68 hours. I have one for 72 over a 2-week period. That's 34 hours, and that is 36 hours respectively. So I don't know what that person's talking about. It is unfortunate that our employees of the county government are being raked over the coals like this. And it's unfortunate that we have been somewhat threatened as well as new council people, because we're new coming in here. We're trying to figure out what happened and how to go forward. And I know that a lot of us, we want to go forward in a respectful manner for the county and all the way around.
And I really appreciate that answer, Carrie. But right now, she is in the Facebook Live going on about wage theft. And I just want you all to know, because, you know, I feel like her doing that further divides this county, and that needs to stop. This really needs to stop. And I'm very grateful that we have new blood on the council to help unite the county, because, you know, we live in a small community and too small to be divided. So thank you all for your work, and thank you, Carrie, for that answer.
So Gail, you're not gonna have any conversation about this? You've talked to the state, and I know that Stacy Burns, she walked myself and the commissioner through, she told you, you had an office that you had 72 hours on. She told us that if we have to bring her in here and from the state, and you paid that 72-hour employee out of the prosecutor's office on the timesheet, it said 72, you paid 80 hours to them.
I paid them their salary.
You paid the 72 hours. It's an hourly associate. I'm just telling you what
You guys did never
Stacy,
vote on this, just like Scott was.
we have a salary
calling
ordinance with
earlier.
the state now that shows she's an hourly person.
Why'd you ask me a question if you're not gonna let me
I'm
speak?
just saying,
Yeah.
why aren't you saying this? I mean, you had the conversation with, they
I know
told
I
us what
did.
they told you.
They told me what they told you. And
you
you
know,
want
That
to
it was wrong.
No,
All right,
no,
hold on,
no,
hold
I'm
on.
not gonna sit up here. I don't, when the council voted on this salary ordinance, I was asked to put the salary or the hourly wages in there. It was talked about. No one voted specifically to go from salary to hourly. It was talked about just because you put it on the line, no votes. You can look around the room, there was no votes.
That's
'Cause
why I said why it was so confusing.
Nobody voted to say, okay, this year in 25, we're gonna make everybody an hourly wage. and
Those
that's what we're
hourly
gonna
wages on
pay.
the side of the salary
It does
ordinance
not
didn't
mean
mean shit to
anything.
me. Like, it literally didn't mean anything. I'm like, okay, you broke down the salary, but at that point, why did we break it down?
You know, I don't
Salary
think
to hour.
That was a. that
No, it's fine,
strategy.
you're fine. No,
But the,
See, me being at the budget meeting, not being on council yet, I mean, it's been voted in, but not being at council. When I was at the budget meetings with the discussions between the current council and the commissioners and whatnot, and different department heads, I think Brian had come in and different ones came in and whatnot. And trying to understand, well, this is the column that says salary and this is the breakdown, for hourly. And asking the questions there, my assumption was there are positions that are 2025 are going to be hourly and positions that are going to be salary. And so I got that from that budget meeting. Now, whether or not I was wrong in assuming it,
I mean,
I just.
But
from
we
that
can't just
meeting-
go into 2025 saying, okay, well, those salary jobs are now hourly. We never even discussed it.
no,
All we did was break down a salary into an hourly rate on a piece of paper.
and
You
those,
weren't at
That's
the
it.
budget meeting, but
those,
those assumed that that's why it was broken
that
down
last
way.
column, there has been some things in prior salary ordinances where there's been hourly wages out to the side.
Yeah,
That doesn't make it
you mean
Automatic.
if they were salary,
they could still be salary and they could ask for that to be put
just to be
there.
broken down.
Yeah, so,
Can I ask a question?
no, go ahead.
So if they were hourly, like I do a timesheet, why did no one tell me? Like, because I've been doing salary for however many years, no one told me that I was supposed to break it down hourly, if that's what you guys were wanting. No one invited me to the budget hearing meetings. So as the person who is supposed to be documenting this, I wasn't aware of what you wanted me to do. I've been doing it the way I've been doing it forever, because
And I
no one has
understand that,
told me
I
that.
understand that completely.
But now
When we turn
now
to
we're
budgets.
getting accused of, falsifying records and stealing time and paying people, but no one's told us anything.
Well, that's where when Lance and I talked to different ones of us to talk, because me being new on council, I don't know, and I don't even know
Yeah.
who the hell's in certain positions yet. I mean, I'm learning.
And I'm not new, but I still don't know because no one has told me.
But my question was, because I didn't know this, I said, so going back through time, however many, wherever, everything's always been paid like its salary, no matter if they work
That's how-
34, 36, or 32, or whatever. Yeah, I'm like, well, okay, that's kind of weird, because I've always been corporate, so I was like, all right, so for 2025, it's gonna be, these positions are salary, these positions are hourly, and we're budgeting as if everybody works 40 hours a week. That's just how I came into 2025, assuming that that's what this meant.
See, I came in the other way. through the
Exactly.
Salary, and that's how it
So
was.
that's where I think
Nobody's bothered
it's
to
not-
tell me that it's different.
from my standpoint, it's not me wanting to bash anybody. You know me long enough. I don't want to bash a soul. I just want to make sure that we're doing the job fairly. I want to be respectful to everybody. I want to understand it because I am analytic. I want to know the nuts and bolts, of it. And I think now we're kind of all the understanding. These are salary positions. These are hourly positions. This is how we're going to do our timesheets and whatnot moving forward. Then there is no assumption of, oh, well, you were paid 80 and we're only here 70, whatever. You see what I'm saying? Now at least, and my suggestion was we have a meeting and invite all the department heads to come in so we can have a powwow. Because I don't know who all the department heads and everything are still. So that's where I'm at moving forward. But
So that is why they were paid their full salary amount at 1598.46. Because
in the
there was
commission meeting,
nothing,
You said that council approved to do it that way, and I don't think in our first meeting we voted to do that.
there was no,
We didn't table
vote.
it.
there was no vote
We
at
had
your
a
first meeting in
conversation that
January, but
Lance was gonna
when the
get with
judge got
Pat,
up and
correct?
spoke,
We all had a conversation that
Yes.
Lance was gonna
That
get
was
with
it.
Pat
That was the
because we
conversation.
were all new and didn't know what the hell we were stepping into, to be honest. So when I left the meeting, I assumed Lance was gonna speak to Pat, we were gonna get
And
some
then
kind of answer.
Pat resigned in the meantime.
I mean,
And then Pat resigned, so we didn't get answers, but we didn't
Well,
agree.
I just listened
do it
to
that
my
way.
minutes today to do your, and I didn't hear where you guys got in touch with Lance, or,
With Pat.
yeah.
We had that.
So that must have been
Yeah.
after the meeting. It was talked about.
No, it wasn't during the meeting.
It wasn't there. I
You're
didn't say
right,
it was during,
you're
it
right.
was after the meeting.
Twice I asked for the county attorney. That night, Lance and I were on the phone for an hour and 40 minutes, and Lance said, let me reach out to the county attorney. It didn't happen at this meeting. And you're right.
Yeah,
That's exactly, it's not stated. in
When
the
we
minutes.
were all under the same assumption that it was still gonna be
No, I
salary,
agree with you.
so
I agree.
that is why, now, have to pay tomorrow, or Friday rather?
We didn't.
Yeah,
we
it's
just-
not until we just now voted on it tonight, is it hourly?
Yeah, I mean.
This vote doesn't help the payroll that she's doing. You have to advertise this
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
Everybody was on.
Doesn't change a thing.
Understanding it was still salary.
She's supposed to follow the salary ordinance that's blessed with the state right now. And the state, whether, I don't know what, I know what Stacy Burns at State Board of Accounts told myself. And that was, your salary ordinance is so different from 2024 that when you put in the hourly wage, that shows those people are hourly. And that's what they should have been paid. That's what she told me. She told Gail.
Say how, but
I'm just telling you what she told me. And she's willing to have a conversation with all of
She
us and
said
walk
she could
us
get
through
on the
that.
phone with
Yep.
us at any time. She wasn't there
Is there any
today.
other, Tom, you got a comment?
Yes,
Sorry, Kathy, go ahead.
That's it. Oh, sorry.
Ladies first.
Kathy Slauson, Administrator of the Health Department. I have a position that has a salary that was 36 hours, but with all this come up, I moved it to 40 hours and still at the same salary. So now with the change tonight that 36 will get the same salary ordinance, can I move her back to 36 hours?
It's not up to us.
It's not up to us how many hours she works.
So you're not going to prorate her hourly rate of a salary ordinance at 36 then?
Instead of her working 40
Yeah.
and working physical hours, they're being paid 36.
Yeah, because I moved it because that was what you said to do.
yeah, I think that's what we're trying to get away from, right?
Right.
And so I'm in a situation that's kind of unique since I did that.
That's under what, the county health or
It's under Health Department,
health first?
1161 will be that account.
I don't have the accounts put down on here.
Yeah, they're not.
Kathy, can you email me the specifics on that? Or all of us, actually, I mean, or send it to me, I'll forward it to all.
Okay.
Yeah. Tom,
I just got two things. First thing's kind of a request. You were going over the different salaries and everything. I'd like for you guys to look over mine again, if possible, under EMA. Because all the years I was exempt, and now starting this year, I'm not exempt. So that gets, that puts me at 40 hours. So, and also for the three new members on the county council, EMA, we're a little different because I work for FEMA also. And FEMA pays a percentage of my salary. So that's for the new members. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. But I went to non-exempt this year.
Tom, real quick, if you have a grievance, you're supposed to take that up with your bosses first. We
Well, I mean,
can't have
I'll just-
independent employees come to
People are
council about a
tonight,
grievance
just not to
of
go and
themselves.
say it.
Because that's not director EMA,
yeah, director.
It's under the commission.
that's the commissioners.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We made a motion to adjourn, second by Scott, all in favor?
So after the
Elaine, she did a good job. After the budget, it was a maintained meeting.